everyone, it's Nora from Nora's Arc here. It is November 11th in Wisconsin, so it's a pretty chilly day, which makes it a perfect day for preserving some beets. So if you guys have been following us for a while, you know that we have this giant beet patch and it's still here and it's time that we need to deal with it. So I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but you can definitely keep your beets in the ground even if you have some frosts. We've definitely had more than our fair share of frosts now here in early November in Wisconsin, and our beets are still surviving. So the only thing is that we want to get them out of the ground before the ground actually freezes, which will be in about a month. So we're going to work on this weekend preserving some and next weekend as well. But anyways, what are we doing today? So today we're making beet burgers, which are super good, and they're like one of our favorite veggie burgers to have. We're not vegetarians or vegans or anything like that, but we definitely love eating plant-based meals time to time. So excited to make these beet burgers today. So the recipe that we're using, we're gonna actually triple it so that way we can go through some of these beets that we have here. And the recipe calls for 12 medium-sized beets. Our beets are definitely not medium-sized. I'll show you what I mean. This is a 4.5 pound beet, so definitely not medium-sized. And for reference, this is a 1/2 pound beet, which is probably more of a normal sized beet. So definitely got some beets to deal with out here. So what we're thinking is we'll grab a mixture of the different size beets, probably grab like 3 of these big ones and then maybe like 4 of these smaller ones, because we're not sure if these are going to be like tough since they're so big. But with the recipe that we're using, we're going to be peeling the beets and we're going to be shredding them with our food processor. So we're not too concerned if they are tough. So that's why we think it's a perfect recipe to use some of these bigger beets that we have. So we're gonna grab our beets and then we'll catch up with you guys inside and let you know how we're gonna make these burgers. So we've got our tops cut off of our beets and our beets all washed, so they'll be ready for us to process them. We decided to go with just 3 big beets and then 3 small beets. The recipe that we're using calls for 12 cups of beets, so we'll have to see how far this gets us, and then if we need more, the best part is the garden is our grocery store, so we can always grab some more. But I'll talk about how we're gonna process these in just a second. But first, what I wanted to mention is the recipe that we're using today is from this book called The Farmstead Chef, and we actually personally know the authors. One of the authors is a soil sister, and she gave me this book, and we love using it. So we'll be using that recipe today, and I'll include a link in the description so you can grab the book if you want, and I'll include a link to this specific recipe so you can follow along. Because as I mentioned, we'll be tripling the recipe today, so everything we show you in ingredient amounts will be for a triple batch of that recipe. So what we like to do is we like to get all of our ingredients ready and measured, and then all we have to do is mix them together and bake the burgers. That's why we love this recipe, because it's pretty simple once you get your stuff prepped. So let's talk about that. First thing we're gonna do is we need 3 cups of rice. We're using brown basmati rice. We like to get this cooking as the first thing, like that's the first thing we do, is get this cooking so that way it can cook and cool down and be slightly cooled by the time that we add it to all the rest of the ingredients. So that's the first thing we'll be doing, is cooking our rice. And then while that's cooking, we're gonna get our beets ready. So what we'll do with our beets is we're gonna cut off these tails, as I like to call them, and then we'll peel them, and then we'll be cutting them into smaller pieces so that way we can put them through our food processor. So our food processor, we have an attachment that we can use as a shredder, and then that's what we'll be doing because we need to have shredded beets for this recipe. And then we have our measuring cup here. It goes to 6 cups at this line, so we just have to fill this twice, and then we'll know that we have enough beets for the recipe. Something else that I want to mention is when you're doing the beets, use gloves, because they will definitely stain your hands when you're processing a lot of them. So when you're peeling them and cutting them, you definitely want to put some gloves on. And then we're also just gonna be using our food processor to chop our onions. That way we just don't have to do a lot of chopping, makes things easier. And we won't be using the shredder attachment for that. We'll just be using the normal chopping attachment for that. And then last thing I'll mention before we get all of our ingredients prepped is it calls for about 3 cups of cheese. And we're definitely cheese connoisseurs here, living in Wisconsin. We love sharp cheddar, 10-year cheddar, bring it on. But for this recipe, you can't really taste the cheese in the actual burger. It's more for just like helping it stick together. So we just got like a medium cheddar cheese, and then that way also, since you need 3 cups, it doesn't cost a fortune to use 10-year cheddar, for example, in there. But anyways, we're gonna get all of our ingredients prepped so that way we can just mix them together and bake our beets. So we'll check in with you once we get all of these ingredients prepped. So we got the hardest part of this recipe done, which is prepping all of our ingredients. So it's smooth sailing from here on out. Now all we have to do is mix them together, form the patties, and bake them. And as you can see from our spread here, there's just a couple ingredients that goes into this recipe. And the cool thing is that we got our 12 cups of beets shredded here, and we still have an entire bowl of beets to deal with. So I say that's great because I'm not going to complain about having too much food, but we might have to repeat and do a whole nother batch of this afterwards. And the reason that we didn't just like quadruple the recipe or something like that is because we don't have a big enough bowl to mix everything in. So we'll be doing that after we get done with these. But anyway, the other cool thing I wanted to mention is that these shredded beets like actually kind of look like ground beef once you have them shredded, just because of the coloring. And also we have some beets that have some white coloring in there, so it kind of looks like the fat in ground beef. So it's just kind of cool that it actually kind of looks like a burger too. But anyways, now what we're gonna do is get all of these ingredients mixed together, and then we'll form our patties and get them baked. First thing we're gonna add is 3 cups of onions. Three cups of rice. 3 cups sunflower seeds, 1.5 cups sesame seeds, 3 cups cheese, 6 eggs lightly beaten, 3/4 cup canola oil, 9 tablespoons of flour, 6 tablespoons of soy sauce. Now we mix. So now that we got our ingredients mixed together, all we have to do is form our patties. And there's nothing special to it. I just grab a good handful. We like to make them big because they are veggie burgers, so it's good to have a nice hearty veggie burger. Like them nice and big. And kind of just grab your handful of them and then plop it on the baking sheet and then just form it on the baking sheet into a nice round patty. We aim for about 6 patties, and this is just like a standard size baking sheet. 6 patties per sheet. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that You'll probably think that they're gonna like fall apart. Like it kind of seems like they're gonna fall apart, and we definitely thought that when we first made this recipe. But as they bake, they definitely form together and stick together. So don't worry about that. Just get them nice and formed on the sheet. And then what you'll do is you will bake them for 45 minutes at 350. And then you might have to do multiple batches of baking sheets if you have as much as we do. But now the hard part's over and all you have to do is wait. So we'll check back in with you guys once these come out of the oven. So our first batch came out of the oven and it feels great because it took a long time to make these. But I just wanted to give you guys a couple cooking tips because obviously everybody's oven is different. So these actually ended up taking us about an hour total of cooking time at 350. Because I know I said 40 minutes before, but what we did is we flipped the burgers at 40 minutes, and then we also swapped out the 2 baking trays that were in the oven because the ones that were on the bottom were definitely cooking faster. Those were these ones than the ones that were on the top. But I just say all that to say, like, just watch them after the 40-minute mark. Probably want to flip them and adjust your racks if you're doing 2 racks at a time. Funny thing is we actually just got a new oven, so we're still learning our new oven. So we made these in the past and we knew our timing, but we have to adjust it again just because we have a new oven now. So just wanted to mention all that because everybody's oven is different. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is watch out for if you flip them a little bit too early, because that's what I did with this one, and then it did end up falling apart. But just want to mention that so it doesn't happen to you guys. But all in all of them are staying together pretty well. Like if I pick this one up, move it around, it stays together really good. The rest of them are staying together well. Obviously it's not like a beef burger, but it's still holding together really well from what it looked like it was gonna when we put them in there. And then another thing that I wanted to mention is this is a great beet recipe to try, even if you don't really like beets that much, because they don't have like a strong beet flavor or a strong earthy flavor. I'm not gonna say that these veggie burgers taste like a beef burger, but they definitely don't have a strong beet taste. So definitely give them a try, even if you don't like beets that much, I would say, because they just end up being a great veggie burger. So if you guys have like some of your favorite beet recipes you like to try, definitely let us know in the comments because we still have a lot of beets outside that we need to preserve. So also stay on the lookout for some more videos about preserving beets, and make sure you are subscribed to our channel so you can see those when they come out. And then the other thing is just if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And what we're going to do now is we're going to freeze a bunch of these burgers. That's why we made so many. We'll freeze them, food save them, vacuum seal them, whichever way you want to call it. And these taste great coming out of the freezer. So just wanted to mention that that's why we're making so many of them. So hope you guys like this video today.